for Oldman. This little monologue. We'll get back to it, dear. She's applying for careers. Some, all werewolves, dear boy. And some, and most, well, most are not werewolves. You do not want to look them in the eye. Or with both eyes, at least. My belief, of course, John, you have your own belief, but I have mine. Now, Mr. John Blacksmith, you'll cover one eye, and you can see, and it will not change you. See. Now, I would rather accept that the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. I know you're focusing. You get it? I trust Alderman. So, you know, should be fine. If he wants to look at the script and write the script, that's fine. But we know he's great. So, I'll talk to him. The idea behind Gerald Oldman III, I thought of Gary Oldman, I wrote it, was that, well, for one thing, he has this, like, patch over his eye. He has his own personal belief that that protects him from what's known as the shapeshifter, which could be anything. So his intensity of the actual werewolf, it is a little different than John Blacksmith. John Blacksmith is his follower. So he incorporates John Blacksmith in his journey to slay the werewolf, who he sincerely believes it's Grace Lippin, which is an Apache UFC fighter. When John Blacksmith joins him, John Blacksmith asks to join him. So John Blacksmith requests his company and joining him. And John Blacksmith is much younger. We're talking like a Post Malone. He's kind of a hip guy. He might have a grill on his... He's a white dude. Blacksmith is not his real name. John Blacksmith is a username. He has his own YouTube show. He has crazy kind of dreadlocks. He's a Portlandia kind of fan. You know, he's like from Portland, Oregon, you know. I mean... Post Malone might could do it. I like Post Malone's voice. I don't know. But the idea is that they're very different. But they're both sincerely after this werewolf. So Gerald, you know, would be like, sure, you can come with me. And that's, of course, when Gerald goes off and sneaks and grabs Scotch whiskey, you know, and John will be on the computer, big nerdy guy eating the fish crackers and the golden fish crackers, and we've got him right here. He's spying on Grace, hacking his system, spying on his computer room and everything. They got cameras in the house. They've got the doorbell, you know, rigged so they can hear everything. And they go do this. I haven't added some of this stuff, but they will rig the doorbell. Now the cat, Garlane, which we might could use Tuxedo, which is, you know, Edmund Tuxedo Cassavetes is my cat. My cat's going to scratch everybody on set, so be careful. I'm also going to give out my dream list. I think Post Malone could pull it off. He's a good rapper. All rappers are good actors. I think it could be something good for him. You'd have to look at. He's done some stuff. I like some of the stuff he's done. He's got the idea. He might. I wouldn't really worry about the weight. Post Malone could probably be. He could still be a chubby kid, but Post Malone's getting older, so John Blacksmith is younger. We'll have to see. We may have to do a reading. I'm sure on Gary Oldman. I'm sure. So that's kind of like the center of the whole thing. I'm sure on that, at least the character. But Gerald is just very English. That's the thing. It's got to be English because this goes back to the whole thing about the French Revolution, and he's got all these stories about werewolves. All right, John Blacksmith, of course. You know, he's got to have this hip American Oregon, Portland aspect to him. What are we at? 4 minutes? Okay. So he's like, dude, man, I know there's werewolves, man. You know, maybe even like a tear. It's like, man, I want to join you, man. I want to go on this quest with you. We'll kill this freaking werewolf. Because he wants to know why he's buying all the silvery weapon from him. Because he sells this silver weapon. He sells this silver lava in this canister that he keeps. He's invented this stuff. He's been trying to kill werewolves his whole life. Whether he's really seen a werewolf or not, I don't know. But I think Gerald has. He's seen something and documented it. And we know from his show, and I'd like a lot of improv from Gary doing his own YouTube vlog about the werewolf, about the research of the werewolf and stuff. Not a whole lot, just something. And it can be as fancy as Hollywood. It can be very fancy. We only have so much time, so the idea is that these two are really on a quest. Gerald thinks it's Grace Lippin, this UFC fighter that has this weird tattoo. He sees it at a sports bar when he's watching one of the fights. It will be tough. Beethoven did not get everything that he wanted, but he got most of it. So I've done the rewrites. I've added another 10 pages. We're at 137 on the pages now. It could be 200 pages. I don't know. I was thinking the novella could be 300. We have to take a moment. What? What is it?
I'm taking my test out of focus.
Okay, you're focusing on the test. Okay. I have to change the volume of that level. Now, Gary, of course, doing slow horses. I think Gerald is a little bit like that. I think he's a little bit like that. The only thing about slow horses is that he's a little too harsh. So, continuing on here, I'm trying to get quiet. Gerald Oldman has a kind heart. He was once a minister, non-denominational. And he's a lover of Jesus. He's not evangelical at this moment because he's backslid. That's why sometimes he has a little bit of whiskey, a little bit of Scotch whiskey every once in a while. So he has this hang-up, this impediment, as one of my teachers would say, about going to get this Scotch whiskey and this thing about Steely Dan. He's still UK, still United Kingdom, but he's fascinated with America. This is a great adventure of a lifetime. Whether it's a real werewolf or not, who cares? See, partly it could be directed as, we don't know if there's really a werewolf. We see some of the killing because the Gothic vloggers are killed at the beginning. We see some of that in the beginning. But remember, he was once a minister. You know, he's got a successful YouTube show, so he's a little famous. I don't know if he'd get an autograph on an airplane. Gary Oldman would, of course. But he is a YouTuber. He's a vlogger. Long time ago, they called them floggers. They'd flog themselves. Flog. Now they vlog. So he continues his show. And that's another thing about him, too. We can do improv. We don't, I love Robert Altman. This is going to take preparation from the actor. Because the actors wrote all of William Shakespeare's stuff. So I'm not a dictator, just by the way, Mr. Oldman, if you're watching, I love actors. It comes from acting. So if you have something where you pull the phone out and you start vlogging, you want to do some kind of communication with John Blacksmith, just go for it. But the idea is that all of a sudden things will stop and they continue with their show, You know what I mean? They've got the phone up. So they continue with their show. I see what I did. I was not doing I need to clean that shower. Anyway, regardless, this is what I was trying to do. Because I was moving this way, here's the mirror. There's the mirror. Sorry about that. We could hear the voice though. So I do these things all of a sudden. So let's say they're in the back seat and they're typing and they're spying on Grace Lippin, the UFC fighter. And all of a sudden they break out their phones and they start doing the thing. But they don't really scold one another. They're friends because they know what YouTube is like, And they know they're on a set because the world is a set. The world is like a stage. And we are the players kind of thing. So they're there. They know they can stop and then all of a sudden pull out their phones and do their little YouTube thing. And they're, watch Adam the Woo, watch Jordan the Lion. I may even ask Jacob, the carpetbagger, to do a reading for John Blacksmith because Jacob's pretty funny. Pretty good actor. I've seen some of his stuff. His wife doesn't like me that much, I don't think, but he's pretty good. But, I mean, those are two different. Post Malone and Jacob, the carpetbagger, are very different. I don't know. I mean, Jacob's pretty mature. Post, of course, is an artist. We all know they're both artists. But the idea is the appreciation of the vlogger, the appreciation of the content creator, and the appreciation of the vlogger. And if they don't have it, then I don't want to work with them. But I'm not a dictator. But there's appreciation, not a hatred. They're not paparazzi. Kind of, but not really. Scott on Tape, Adam the Woo, Jordan the Lion, they're not necessarily paparazzi. They do tons of historical stuff, tons of stuff. So the appreciation of the vlog, know thy vlogger, to know this work. After all, it's AKA Werevlog. And that goes with Bob Balaban, you say his name, Balaban, who worked in Close Encounters with, there is no, with Spielberg, there is no difference between what you do in Hollywood, these big sets with millions of dollars, billions of stuff, and what a simple vlogger does. And Gary Oldman agrees with me 100%. Sorry, I looked inside of my shower. I thought it was on selfie. That could be something to throw in there. Robin Williams would be great, but he went down another path. Linda's in there fighting with alcoholism. I think Gary understands a lot of it. I hope Gary, of course, I hope he finds complete sobriety. I hope everybody does. I'm sure he probably has. I know Anthony Hopkins did. He made a statement about it. And sure, we can say the werewolf is maybe alcoholism in a way. But unfortunately, how we're going to do it is, or even fortunately, is that it's a real werewolf, you know? There could be a moment where we're dealing with a real werewolf. I think Old Main, which could be Gary Oldman, but not Gary Oldman being a werewolf, but being the hunter, the great werewolf hunter, could say that to John Blacksmith at a moment. Like, I'm afraid that we are dealing with a werewolf, a real werewolf, you know? Now, when they meet Grace at the door, at the patio, and Rainey is there, it's a very embarrassing thing. Because you've got these two YouTubers who nearly are like evangelical ministers knocking on the door, you know? Knocking on the door. They want to prophesize or evangelize, but he can't do it that way. He must face Grace and Rainey, possibly Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, who I think would make a great Rainey love. I know she's married to an art dealer. This would be a big art project for her. Or Linda, but Rainey's not happy to see them. Because one thing, I don't know if they identify themselves as YouTubers, but they sincerely think Grace is the werewolf, which is her husband. How dare. And in actuality, you'll find out who the werewolf is, obviously. Any smart writer would know. But it's more about the humanity of the moments between the characters, you know? About the realness between the characters, rather than some mysterious Columbo plot about werewolves or whatever, or Hitchcockian plot about werewolves. And so that's kind of maybe where some of the comedy may come through the frustration of them trying to communicate, you know, with the supposed werewolf. But the Gary Oldman character, Gerald Oldman III, sincerely believes it. And that's where the shining aspect of it comes into. He doesn't do it in some kind of intense emotional thing. He just simply does believe it. And the idea is that he's actually wrong. Another good movie is The Pledge, which is Jack Nicholson, Sean Penn. But the thing that Jack Nicholson did in that, which was great, was that he really believed this thing, and it was going on inside of him. I mean, call it the method, call it whatever, call it broccoli, it doesn't matter. But he believed this thing, and that pledge and that agreement is what got him. I did add another thing I'm going to add about Rainey. When she's cooking John Blacksmith's hand, she will mumble in tongues, not speak in tongues. She will mumble in tongues. There's mumbling in it too, which Gerald Oldman does mumble at the end. Is it coming from a Pentecostal thing? I don't know, but there is mumbling. There's a mumbling that is shared. So when you see that frightening figure of Rainey and her lycanthropy legs, or werewolf legs, and the cooking of the hand of John Blacksmith, there is the mumbling of the tongue, which is coming out of Rainey Love's mouth. That mumbling is transferred to Gerald Oldman, as he's the third, as he's carted off by the ambulance drivers. And we get that moment. If you want to call it a method moment, whatever you want to call it, there's a moment there. So there can be some heightened drama there as well. The cat, keeper of the curse. There's a chain that Rainey wears that has plentiful crop. It's a Native American symbol. Towards the end, that'll be around the cat, like a collar. When you see the cat come up into the window sill to look out. And then the Alexa, which is a device in the kitchen, will play Year of the Cat automatically, which it does that for Rainey. And this is right after the cat has his snack with the electric cat feeder going in the bowl and stuff. You'll have to read the script. Anyway, those are some kind of like director notes to the actor.